Get into good morning, everybody. We are live with the Sell a House Wholesale Real Estate Training number 102. 102 bits of gold out there for you guys to scarf up and work your wholesale business and get some ideas on how to work this thing and make a lot of money. And John is over there sending an email right now to Title in response to one of the deals that we have closing this week, or hopefully this week. Maybe it might be delayed a little bit. The sellers are have a couple of questions, and they're all the way out in Michigan, so things take a little bit of time to go back and forth. But hopefully, we'll have that all cleared up today and be on the road to the closing table here. Hopefully by the end of the week. That would be nice. If not, it'll happen early next week, I would imagine. John, what do you say this morning from the Sell a House?
Oh, well, good morning. Yeah, it's a strange email that I got. And there's another caveat to this, because now I got a text last night from Mark that this is the problem why we never sell our property, why you want to deal mainly with investor cash buyers and stay away from the retail buyers who are paying cash, is because, the retail public, I don't deal with the retail public. I can't stand them. They're ignorant. They don't get it, because now the buyers want to walk out of the deal because it's not, it hasn't closed yet. There's a closing date set for the 16th of April. They say, well, we're paying cash. Why can't we close today? And they have to understand, and they just don't get it, that title has a job to do, and that's to insure a title, which means they've got to get county payoffs, taxes, liens, title search, make sure that everything is properly in order before they close. And the sellers on this particular deal happen to be in Michigan, which is kind of an added layer of time. So this is why I consciously say screw the retail public, because they're mainly morons. They just don't understand that just because you have cash doesn't mean you can't close in a day. There has to be certain procedures in place first, and this deal actually is progressing quite nicely, in my opinion, with a closing date set for the 16th that we might even be ready to close Friday, and they're threatening to walk away because they want to close right now. So that's just a little caveat piece and a warning out there to you people that you're doing wholesaling. You want to probably stick to working with cash investors. This is the first time, or the second time actually, that I've dealt with retail end buyers that had the cash. And the first time I did it proved to be a ginormous pain in the ass with these people. A story that would take me an hour to tell and do it justice. It's hilarious, but they're friggin' morons. Sorry if I sound a little angry about it. It's because I am, because I just can't stand stupidity, and the retail people, the general public, is massively retarded out there, stupid as hell. And if you're offended by that, you're probably stupid too. So anyways, yeah, I'm off on a tangent there. We always talk about on these hangouts about not following the herd, to step away and don't conform. And look at what conformity gets people. It gets them making bad decisions and doing stupid things and refusing to listen to reality. So that's my little rant this morning. But anyway, good morning, Paul. How are you?
Well, that hour-long story you talked about, I had my cousin pretty much rolling, telling that story last night as to what we had to do with people in that whole situation, and the front door, and and how we finally got out of there with the doorknobs rubbing together, with a very lucky drilling of a hole position on that deal. But yeah, I had him practically falling off his bar stool. I was meeting up with him yesterday, haven't really sat down with him in a long time, and just shot the shit for a little bit. And so we got together for a beer at the cantina over there, and yeah, that pulled that one out and had him going pretty good. So, I mean, you get a lot of good stories out of this business. There's no question about that. We've still got we got a couple other deals, like John said. This particular deal is progressing very nicely. I mean, everything's on time. We haven't had any problems with anything coming in from the people that need to be delivering information to title. You're dealing with governments, you're dealing with attorneys, you're dealing with courts, you're dealing with individuals, you're dealing with all these different aspects, and some things take longer than others to gather up the information that's required, which is why you have a closing date set out one of the funny things is about wholesaling information that you people get is telling people that you can close in 7 to 10 days. Well, we never tell anybody we can close in 7 to 10 days. We say if everything goes well, we may be able to close in 7 to 10 days, but we always look to get at least a 30-day closing on the contract, because we've run into too many times that there's some little caveat that pops up that we had no clue about that ends up taking a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, who knows how long it is to sort it all out and get it all worked out and that sort of thing. And opposed to, and sometimes people say, well, aren't you buying with cash and can't you close in 10 days? And, a very simple rebuttal to that is just that, hey, listen, we are buying with cash and we can close in 10 days, if everything works out just fine. However, there's just so many deals where a little something pops up that takes extra time, and so we put 30 days on the contract. So generally, title can get everything done within 30 days. So we put 30 days on there just for the fact that we don't have to come back, find you, create an addendum, get another signature, get it over to title. So it's basically just an effort to save some time and effort. Put 30 days on here. We're going to close this thing as soon as we possibly can. As soon as title gives us the okay, we're going to be in there closing this thing down. So, it very well could be 7 to 10 days if it flies through title, but more often than not, we see that it doesn't. So that's why we don't put that on there. So there you go. So that's just a little tip for you there. Something that you can work with, because, realistically, yeah, I mean, if you get busy in this business, the last thing you want to be doing is, calling sellers that you wrote contracts with, 7 to 10 days ago and having to, run out and get new signatures and having to, go get things notarized and, whatever it takes or whatever needs to be done to get these things in place. I mean, you want to automate this as much as you possibly can. Get a contract, get it signed, get it into escrow, and let them do their work. And have them wait for the day when they call you up and say, okay, come pick up your check. That's pretty much the best way that this goes together. Although, hey, we're going to get calls from title all the time saying, oh, well, this is going on, that's going on. It's nice that they keep you abreast of what's happening. So, when you have a anticipated closing date like these retail sellers, retail buyers that John's talking about here, they came in here, obviously whoever the assigning party is that we assigned the contract to, who's selling it to these people, probably misled them with some bad information, telling them that, yeah, you can buy this house and you can move in right, as soon as we close it next week or whatever. And so they're getting a little upset that it isn't happening. Understandable, I guess, but, that's the whole thing is they probably got misinformed in the first place about what's going on here. So I don't blame them 100%, as John was talking about just a minute ago, but seriously, I would guarantee that probably 50% of the blame goes to the people who are selling them the property that we assigned this deal to, because I'll guarantee you that they told these people, something that they probably should not have. Another reason why it's very, very, you got to be very careful with your double assignments and that sort of thing. You want to make sure that you understand who you're assigning to, who they're assigning to, have all that information. You want to make sure you stay in control of your deals. That's how we got into such a crazy position on the other one, is we actually released control and we didn't stay in control of that deal, and all kinds of stupid things ended up breaking out. So just some really good tips.
You're absolutely right, Paul. It's probably, here's the problem that I have with, is that if I was dealing directly with these buyers myself, as Paul said, we allowed another entity that deals with retail buyers. He could bring us a little bit higher of a dollar amount than had we sold to another investor on this particular deal. And we thought, hey, we'll give this a shot. He's probably not divulged all the angles of this deal and is probably misinforming them. And I shouldn't have taken such a strong stance on but the public is pretty ignorant. I will say the mass of the public is very ignorant about most things. And I don't, I'm not changing my opinion on that, but I do agree, when you're dealing with people in this business, honesty, 100% honesty and transparency is obviously the best way to do business, especially in real estate. You don't want to misconstrue or mislead anybody. And my opinion on this is that if these buyers are talking about walking out because they can't close right now today. Obviously, someone misinforming that the contract that they agreed to when they were assigned it was a closing date of the 16th. Could we on or before? On or before, meaning that if it can happen before the 16th, it'll happen on the 16th with a 90-day period to clear any title issues, meaning if there's an issue on title that needs to be cleared, they've agreed that they will allow at least a minimum of 90 days for title to clear those title issues. That's a clause we put in there because it not only locks in our seller to not walk away from the closing table because of an issue on title, but it also ensures the seller that the buyer's not going to walk away because of a title issue that can be resolved in an appropriate time frame. So in a case like this, I typically don't like dealing with retail people because they are ignorant of how real estate works, unless I'm the one directly dealing with that person, because I would be transparent, honest, open, and actually give them an education about how things work. And I doubt very much that other people out there doing business are willing to go to the lengths to help people like Paul and I have. And that infuriates me because I just don't understand the lack of honesty in this particular business. This is a business you got to be very careful and know what you're doing. Be very careful about who you work with, because unfortunately, and the truth of the matter is, there's a lot of sharks in the shark tank here, and there's not only a lot of sharks, there's a lot of misinformed people, and there's a lot of flat-out scam artists in this business that you got to be aware of. That's why joining a team of experienced professionals when you're getting started is probably going to be the most lucrative decision that you could possibly make for yourself. Just want to point that out and say, you know, and kind of apologize for taking such a strong stance against the retail buyer in the beginning. But you know what? It's the fault of the wholesalers because they're not informing these retail people, and that's kind of what happened to us on the last deal, and it sounds like it could happen on this deal. Here's the part. These buyers can't walk away without losing their earnest money deposit. I mean, that's basically what they've agreed to, and the person that is, you know, assigning to them needs to make them understand that if they walk away, they lose their earnest deposit. And is he informing them that what they've agreed to here, they cannot breach a contract? Certainly not going to give him back his earnest deposit if his buyers fail, because he's kind of hinting at, well, if these buyers drop out and we can't perform. This is literally the text I got from our sales guy. Will Israel be entitled to a refund of its deposits? And you know what the answer is? Absolutely not.
No.
No, you are not entitled to and that's one area where you do not bend, is when somebody contracts and ties up your property and you get them to agree to a non-refundable deposit, it is non-refundable if they fail to perform on that contract. You have an obligation to the seller, and your buyer has an obligation to you. And if they fail, well, that's just too bad. They're out the money. Next time they'll perform better.
Well, that's exactly it. You know, that's exactly why you put a non-refundable deposit in there, because there's just you know, anything. I mean, we have a like you say, when you contract with the seller, you have an obligation with that seller. It's your name on that purchase contract that says you are going to be buying this property. So when you assign, you know, your contract over to somebody else, if you don't have a non-refundable deposit in there, and they're just going to throw up some money in there that says they're going to buy this property, and then for whatever reason they're backing out, you know, in the 11th hour, and your property is out there. Now this is where, you know, I think we talked about this on I talked about this on Monday, where, you know, one of the biggest worries that people have about getting started in wholesaling is the whole idea about, what if I get stuck, you know, with a contract, having my name on a contract and having to buy a property. And this is one way that can happen. And now, you know, okay, here you go, you got a non-refundable deposit there. Well, hey, worst case scenario, I mean, at least you've got something for your efforts. You know, you failed for your seller, and I mean, depending on what type of person you are, maybe you can smooth it all over. Maybe you can keep your seller on board. Maybe you could offer them a little bit of that cash that comes from that non-refundable deposit to, save the deal and find yourself another buyer. But without it, if you don't have that non-refundable, anybody can just walk away at any time. Oh, that's great, babe. Anybody can just walk away at any time, and I'm sorry, I got thrown off there. My wife twisted her knee last night and is barely walking this morning. But anyway, yeah, I mean, anybody could just walk away from your deal, and then, like I said, then you are left on the hook. For you, A, having to perform on this contract, and B, getting nothing for all of your efforts. So, even if these people walk away, like John says, they have a $5,000 non-refundable deposit in escrow right now. That is our money, regardless of what happens. So if they want to walk away, hey, doesn't bother me any. I'm still making $5,000 off this deal. So that's, I mean, I'll have to go back to the seller and explain why the property's not closing, or scramble around to try to find a last-minute buyer, either one, which we'd probably be able to do. But, it's just the whole idea that, somebody steps into your contract and they say that they're going to perform on your contract. Do not take anyone for their word. We had a guy the other day telling us, over the phone that, all I've got is my word. And, well, you know what? If that's all you got, then you ain't got much, because money talks, and as everybody knows, what walks. So, basically, you got to make sure that you got your tail covered, and a non-refundable cash deposit is one way to do that.
Yeah, exactly. So anyways, yeah, it's kind of took our conversation in a whole different direction than I expected this morning, because I just saw that email and those texts right before this Google Hangout started, which Paul and I kind of talked about the other day, which kind of maybe we can kind of change gears a little bit and talk about something that's going to help people to be more successful, and that's about focus and discipline and staying focused. And one of the things to do here is, on one of the Hangouts last week, I was wrapped up in doing some emails and some text messaging during the Hangout and totally lost track of what we were talking about, which actually helped us to make it a really good Hangout about how important focus is. And I find myself, because of our little issues this morning, starting to lose focus in this Hangout and respond to title and respond to text messages. And I stopped myself here, because why does that need to be done right this minute? That can certainly be put off for 20 minutes for Paul and I to do a good, effective Hangout and wrap this up. So I just wanted to kind of catch myself in doing what we talked about in one of our past Hangouts not too long ago, about staying focused on the task at hand. Be a don't be a jackass of all trades, but become a master of one. And when you're doing something, you need to be focused 100% on whatever it is you're doing at the moment, and and it's hard. It is difficult, but learn, and you'll have a much more prosperous, easygoing life if you can learn to do this. But block all the other distractions out of your mind. Focus on one thing at a time. So that's kind of a point I wanted to make here, just because I found myself almost losing focus. And from personal experience, you're a much happier person when you learn to block out thoughts, because most of what distracts us is negative thoughts. What was distracting me in the beginning of this Hangout was anger towards the fact that I felt like maybe this deal could be falling apart, where at the end of the day, the deal ain't falling apart. I'll fix it. And it's after getting through this Hangout and focus, then when the Hangout's over, me and Paul can talk about it, actually focus on what the issue is, game plan it, and probably come up with a solution within 20 minutes or so, rather than flying off the handle and doing things, making a rash decision. And that all comes down to focus and discipline and learning to control and direct your own mind.
And that goes right along with the whole idea of being a finisher too. You're sitting there and, would you even be able to finish that issue with that thing while you're trying to do it during this Hangout? No, you wouldn't have been able to finish it, so why even start it? And that's the whole idea about being a finisher with your focus and your concentration and working on one thing at a time is to, you start something, finish it, because there's no reward, there's no compensation. Nothing's going to happen until something gets finished. So the more things that you get started on, great. Looks like you're getting a lot done, but when you're not finishing anything, you ain't getting jack done. So that's the whole idea about becoming a finisher in life, is somebody who can start something and see it through to the finish before moving on to, 3 or 4 other things at the same time, which is one of the reasons why I mentioned the other day that multitasking is BS and is a death of productivity tool that is developed, issued to the world. So anyway, with that, I flip it back over to you there, Mr. J.
Yes, man, I am on location today, actually at a property that Paul and I closed on Friday last week, needing a major clean out. So I'm here this morning with my trailer, my crew, 2 guys that are doing the clean out, and the seller actually of the property is here. Well, he'll be here shortly, but he's got 3 of his own guys here to help move the stuff out, which was a nice surprise because I really thought the guy was going to bail and leave everything behind and cost me thousands of dollars to get it cleaned out. But you know what? When you're honest and you treat people right, and I've given this guy a couple extra days after closing to take care of his business, good things happen and great things are attracted into your life. And the fact now that he's shown up today his ride went to go pick him up because he's in a wheelchair. But the fact that he stuck to his word and he's got 3 guys out here today to clean out the house and push things along is quite honestly because we treated him right and we treated him with respect. We were honest with him from the get-go about the situation, what was going on, why he was losing the house and what was happening. And honesty and integrity and treating people with respect gets rewarded in abundance. And I came here this morning and I was pleasantly overwhelmed with joy with what what his friends had accomplished in the house. They over exceeded my expectations, and I would like to think that's due to the fact of how I was treating this guy with respect and integrity and honesty throughout this whole process of having to sell his home because of the situation. It's not something they really wanted to do. They were stuck and they had to do it. And when you work with people and you treat them right, you get rewarded.
Like you talked about a minute ago with the transparency and integrity and all of the flakes in this business, that it's no wonder that wholesaling has such a bad feeling to many people. That is because everybody looks at people that are doing what we're doing as nothing but sharks who are out there trying to steal properties. And when you take the approach that John and I take, which is that we're here to help people, and being transparent and open and honest about everything that is the situation in and of itself, and everything that we can and will do, and then backing that up with delivery and doing what we say we're going to do when we're going to do it, is a powerful thing that really can take you far, not just in this business but in any business and in life in general.
Absolutely. And that's kind of the core, I guess you could say, part of our vision and our mission statement in this business is that we are those kinds of people, and those are the kind of people that we want to work with. And it's frustrating when you're dealing or working with people who aren't so honest. And like attracts like, and the law of attraction is so alive and well in the universe, it's ridiculous. Like Paul and I, just to kind of add credence, I mean, we had this great mastermind session. What was it, about 6-7 weeks ago at this point? We went on a hike and we analyzed why things weren't going as well as they should have been from the beginning of the year, and we realized that we had kind of lost focus. So we made this conscious effort after that hangout, or not that hangout, I'm sorry, that mastermind hike, to begin focusing on what needs to be done, and rather than blame others, for kind of the slow start to our year, we took responsibility for what had been going on, and we have been just, because of our focus and our commitment, we've just attracted so much business and deals in the past couple weeks since that discussion that it's unbelievable to many, but completely understandable and believable to me about why that's occurring. And that's because we're not just talking the talk, but we're out there walking the walk. And part of that too is that we have focused attention on certain aspects of building the business. We're committed to building this business, but beyond that, I think we're being rewarded because of our commitment to honesty and integrity, which is something that is sadly lacking in the wholesale community. And I would just love to get an email from people out there and see what your thoughts and feelings, opinions are on some of the stuff that we're talking about here today, and reach out to us. And I would love to find somebody that would like to join our team that shares these core values. And you know what? Learn the business from people who operate from a place of integrity and honesty, and learn how to avoid the pitfalls and not fall victim to the miscreants and the dishonest people that are out there in abundance in wholesaling. It's crazy how many scams happen to people regularly in this business, and how people are taken advantage of in this business. And you want to team up and you want to learn it from people that have kind of been through it, been through the ringer, so to speak, so that you could learn how to avoid those same pitfalls.
Yeah, I think the whole take it or leave it, here's my offer, take it or leave it kind of approach of wholesaling, it doesn't work anymore, because you don't have a plethora of people that are deeply in trouble with no hope of anything whatsoever, that are willing to just say, whatever, take it. That isn't what's available out there anymore, and therefore using that same old approach of, oh, well, here's what I can do, that's it, take it or leave it, call me when you're ready type of thing. I guarantee you that we've probably landed a few deals that I know of one in particular where somebody had that sort of an offer from another investor, and we showed up, and just in time before they signed with that other investor, because they didn't know they had any other opportunities, and just with the presentation that we offered them in saying that, hey, listen, this is what's going on. We helped. They had no clue what was happening. We first of all just brought to light, taking a few minutes to explain to them what the problem is, what the situation is, and what's going on, was so was greeted with such what's the word I'm looking for there that starts with a G. They were so grateful just to be able to understand what it was that they were in. I mean, they didn't really have a clue what their situation was, and the fact that we're able to sit down with them and explain that to them, just bring it to light, just bring it to their attention, just so they understand where they are and what possible options they have. That in and of itself was enough for them to say, hey, listen, whatever your offer is, we're going with you guys. So I mean, it's a huge different. Like I said, it's a whole other world than it was 5, 10, 20 years ago, and it's all about, like John says, it's all about really honesty and integrity, and delivering upon what it is that you tell people that you're going to do. That's a key factor that is hugely lacking in this world, is people that actually do what they say they're going to do when they say they're going to do it. So
Yeah.
with that, Don, why don't you round it off here and take us home?
Yes. Well, I just want to ask the universe for not more riches, but for more wisdom with which to make better use of the riches that have been given to me at birth, through the power to control and direct my own mind to whatever ends I may desire. And you know what? I just want to throw in what my desire today is, just to get through this day being as honest as possible to people, to fulfill my commitments and promises that I've made, and that I hope that I can deliver on my promises and exceed all my clients and the people I'm working with. I hope to exceed everybody's expectations and just send a positive energy out there to the universe and attract back the same in return. So with that, have a great week, and I'll see you all back here on Friday.
All righty. Bye, everybody.